And that is what happens if you've done all these things right, and the client leaves, you've tested everything, and the client's all excited and it's fantastic, they're done, right? They go away, and 2 weeks later they call back and say it didn't work. And you ask them the magic question, what didn't work? I'm not a hypnotist. I'm only kidding. What didn't work? Well, it's always the it didn't work, right? Well, the hypnosis didn't work. Well, talk me through what happened. Well, for like the first 10 days or so, it was fantastic. I was on cloud 9. I was doing all these things. Did it work or didn't it work? You know what it is. Of course it worked, right? And then it stopped working. So clearly it worked, but something occurred and it stopped, right? This takes us to an idea called secondary gain. A lot of you may be familiar with the term. Essentially what happens is this. Some people create problems for themselves because they need those problems to function better in other ways. It has a payoff, right? There's a great story, I think Grin and Bandler tell this one, about a lady who came in with a paralyzed arm, right? By the time they finished with her, they paralyzed all her fingernails. Fingernails, because they're very mobile. Of course, what the problem was for her, she was an elderly lady, she had, a few friends and so on, and her way of socializing was to complain to people. If she has a paralyzed arm, does she have something to complain about? So she feels important, she feels that people are paying attention to her, right? If you take the paralyzed arm away, what happens to her source of self-esteem, importance, attention? It's gone. She's now less capable of functioning in the world than if she were sitting around with a paralyzed arm. Do you see how we're talking about this? So she's better off being paralyzed or having that paralyzed arm, as far as she's concerned, because the payoff is better than not having it, right? Now, she doesn't know this stuff consciously. Consciously, it's like, it's a pain to have a paralyzed arm. She's trying to get rid of it so she can move around again properly, right? So by paralyzing her fingernails, what have they done? They have given her the functionality of the arm. She can still complain about it without any debilitation in her movement, right? Now, we don't have to go to these extremes. That's just a fun way of demonstrating what I'm talking about. Let's say we have your typical soccer mom, the ones you see on the TV, and she's got a phobia of driving. She's got a driving license, but she's got a phobia of driving. She doesn't drive. What might be the secondary gain there? People with kids will probably know this one. Free time. Free time, right? She doesn't have to drive all her kids to all the football practices. She can say, oh, you know what, you'll have to go to the next door neighbor and see if they'll take you there. The neighbors go doing the magic shuffle. She sits at home and goes, no kids. Oh, this is beautiful. Right? So what happens when she comes in and you do a sterling job of removing the phobia? You don't know about any of this stuff. She goes home, what's going to happen now? The first thing is, look, I can drive. She's going to be excited, isn't she? She'll drive down the road, and this is great, and Mom, this is great, and Dad, this is great, everyone, this is great. And then Mrs. Summerfield from down the road said, this is great, now you can take the kids. Huh? What happened to my me time? Of course, a few days later, it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm having some panic attacks, some hot flushes, right? She's not doing it on purpose necessarily, but she's lost her payoff, right? Now, a lot of the stuff we're doing here will take care of that automatically. The whole life circumstances will kind of switch around with it. A lot of the times it happens spontaneously. Especially with things like the mind-bending language, it tends to flush things out because people come up with these excuses like, but what will I do for my time with myself? You saw a classic example of that with the stop smoking, didn't you? With a smoking session. You saw all the excuses starting to come out, the drinks and the socializing and the time for myself and the de-stressors. These are all secondary gains, aren't they? If I just broke the habit on its own, what do you think the chances are of that process surviving? Slim to none. because she's lost all the payoff, right? As it is, the payoff was the way she's going to break the stop smoking session. That's one of the simple ways of doing it, right? So would you be interested in a process that will allow you to handle those what-if clients that they've left, it's all worked out great, and they come back and it's like, fix me again, right?